Hey, welcome everyone to the Architect Marketing Institute live stream masterclass on the Architect's Guide to Taming Wild Clients, also known as client control. My name is Eric Bobrow, and I'm co-founder of the Architect Marketing Institute, along with my esteemed partner here, Richard Petrie. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing well. Looking forward to this. One of my favorite topics, client control.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know that you can hear us and see us. Type into the chat. We're going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously, which is fun. If you're on Facebook, then please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at streamyard.com/Facebook. That'll allow us to see in the broadcast studio your comments. All right, so Richard, what do you have in store for us today?
All right. I think we get straight into it because I've got a bit to cover, and it's a good topic, to be fair. So
All right, you're going to show your
I have
screen?
got entire window. There we go. All right. So just see what you're seeing. Okay, you're seeing that. Good. Okay, so we got an email after last week or the week before from, I won't say who, one of our members who attended this session. And he suggested that we run a session on...
Richard, just before you go on, can you hide the formatting thing on the right side? You can just click on...
Well, if I do that, we might lose it all.
No, just on the right side. No, not the play. It's on the upper right. It's the format button. Click on the format button.
Sure. There you go.
There you go. That's going to be better.
Okay. All right. So he suggested we run a session. He's probably here today. He's a member in our 6 program, a very valued member. How to spot the asshole. And I think that's a good idea. It's a good idea for a meeting because there's a lot of issues, right? Winning a bad client is really not actually a victory at all, right? It's a loss. It's almost a loss. You're better off to, especially if you're going to spend 1 or 2 years with them. So really good topic. So thank you for that. His name shall remain nameless, but he knows who he is and he's probably here today. So it comes to this topic of, and we run this program. Most of you probably know, you're probably familiar with it. We always get some members turn up here as well, called the six maps. And it's a project. It's a process for winning better projects, right? And if anyone wants to talk to us about that, you can put it in chat later on, or now, or anytime in the window, and someone will connect with you and have a chat with you. But one of the things that runs behind the 9 steps is this thing called client control, right? So there are 9 steps to winning a project, but there is also this, I guess this doesn't stop you winning an asshole client, but it certainly gives you a certain amount of control once you've got any particular client. It trains novice clients how to be good clients. It takes slightly clients who could be a bit wayward and moves them into line. It allows a certain degree of power and control over your clients. And it happens at all stages. And it's got to start. It's got to start in the sales process, because if you can't get control of the client during the sales process, well, that's the best time to get control, right? It's the best time to get control. If you can't get control of them early, it's hard to get control of them later on. Now, not only that, and this probably should be one of the mindset things that up, is this idea of control, right? Now, this is all about control. I forgot what I was going to say there, actually. So you've got to get control of them early. Oh, yeah. It's almost a form of, if you can take control of the client during the sales process, right, it's a show that you are in control. And clients want to see an architect or a designer who is in control, right? And so it's about having a system. I mean, I guess all this stuff up here is about having a system for being in control right through the sales process, and then you maintain it. But there are some tools. There's a large number of tools and strategies which we teach to maintain control, not only in the sales process, which is where you've got to start it, during the construction, then even after. Okay, so by being able to demonstrate control in the sales process, you go a long way to having a client who is well behaved, right? And that's what we want. We want well behaved. Now let's have a look at a couple of mindset things. Oh, it's not going to do its fancy thing now, is it? Okay, I had some fancy how the bars were going to bang up and it was going to look great, but seeing I can't go into that mode. Anyway, here's situation one, where the client has a lot of power. Okay, client has a lot of power, and the designer doesn't have as much power. Now, I'm going to say in a design situation, that is generally not great, right? Where the client has all the power, they're telling you what they want, how they want it done. I mean, they can tell you what they want, but they start moving to how they want it done. So not ideal. This situation's okay, where you and the client kind of work on the same power level. What I've noticed is that what works better is where the designer actually has more power, not in the strategic, here's where I want to go type scenario, but more in the process, right? It's important for the designer to have more control in the process. Now, it's about winning confidence from the client, and that comes from having systems in place. Okay, so it's the first mindset thing, is you want to have power in the relationship, particularly, and you want to have it early on, right? Even in the sales process. Now, there's about 50 odd little scripts, emails, strategies that we will take people through that will be embedded into this whole process up here, right? There's a large number of them, and I'm going to give you 3 or 4 today. Okay, so the second, where are we at here? Okay, so that's about power. Okay, so here's another mindset thing that I think is very useful for controlling clients, and maybe even turning, the asshole client. Maybe it even turns them into a good client. I think it definitely can. Okay, and this one is mindset things when you think about the analogy of a pilot. And here's how it goes. And this would be a little example of a little script, right? And you might say this differently. This is a mindset framework that you would take on. Okay, so I'm the pilot, you're the passenger. You get to choose where you want to go. And this pilot has a stutter. And I get to choose how we get there. That's kind of your attitude. Now, no, you can't come into the cockpit and drive the plane. Okay. So that's kind of your attitude. And that might be, you would have some script along those lines to say that. All right. Now, have a think about it. If you jump into a plane, you can't knock on the cockpit, especially not nowadays, and say, hey, I would like to come in and I would like to help with I want to make decisions as to how we get there. Pilot will go, no way. We're not opening the door, and someone would come maybe with a gun and remove you and put you in handcuffs, right? Very important. And there's no reason why an architect shouldn't have a similar sort of process. Now, the whole metaphor here is, look, you get to choose where you go. I'll work out how we're going to get there. You sit back and enjoy business class. I'll ask you questions and I'll get information from you when I need you, but we don't need you in the cockpit. Okay. Now, how would we say that? Well, we could say it like that. You could definitely say it like this. Now, in step number 9, we have a thing in the 6 Maps program. We have a thing called the Circle of Love. And the Circle of Love is about staying in touch with people who are on your list. So they've downloaded what we call a monkey's fist or a lead magnet or some free resource. They've downloaded that. They're now on a list. And they're not ready to do anything yet. They're kind of, they're interested in the topic of, let's say, renovating their beachfront home. but they haven't contacted you, but they're one of maybe 40 or 50 people on a list who have expressed interest in renovating beachfront homes, as an example, right? So what we do is we stay in touch with these people, because we know half them probably will end up doing something within 18 months, but we don't know when. So we have to have a circle of love where we stay in touch and nurture them. Now, how do we stay in touch with them in an entertaining and educational way that will help them? Well, what we do, we send them emails. And here's an example of an email I might send that tells a story which emphasizes this whole point about a pilot and passenger, the relationship between an architect and a client, and does it in a way that, they may not read the email, right? But I've got a number of these emails. They come out each week. So they'll read some of them. But this one is an example that if they read this, they kind of get the idea as to the relationship that I have with my clients. Okay. So it goes something like this. You may not be able to see it. You may not be able to read. I'll read it out. Okay. So this is an email and it's a story. So it's one of the emails that comes out each week. And it's a story going, if only I'd known. So, and here's the story that would be in the email. Imagine, and this is a story, and this is a part of our education. Once they come onto a list expressing interest in something, what we're looking to do is educate and indoctrinate people, right, into our way of thinking. Educate and indoctrinate and entertain. Okay. So this might be part of the educate and the indoctrinate and the, a little bit of entertainment here as well. Okay. So here's the email, and it's a weekly email, and it says, look, imagine you're about to take your family on a lifetime trip to New Zealand. You have the choice between two airlines, You Fly and Me Fly. Both offer very different experiences. You Fly is a fun airline, a do-it-yourself experience where a friendly pilot invites you into the cockpit to help him or her fly the plane. You can press buttons like a monkey, make loud offensive announcements like a radio shock jock, and slide around the sky like a drunken Lewis Hamilton. Even better, the pilot will let you randomly change destinations mid-flight. Instead of doing a planned flight over Dubai, you can randomly decide it would be much more fun to go and do a stopover in Fiji instead. If you like this anything goes approach, then You Fly is the airline for you. However, all this flexibility and hands-on fun comes at a cost. Number one, You Fly's planes regularly crash, killing all passengers. Number two, You Fly flights take longer because the passengers tend to zigzag around the globe. And number three, if you land safely, you get a huge invoice for the extra fuel, staff wages, and food required. Helping the pilot is not cheaper. It's always more expensive. The other option is Me Fly. On Me Fly, you can choose where you want to go by buying a ticket, but you cannot dictate how to get there. Only the pilot makes those decisions. If you do not enter the cockpit, you do not enter the cockpit, but you can enjoy a comfortable seat, just like a real airline that doesn't crash and burn. There are three benefits. Your pilot knows the best flight. Number two, the cost of the ticket is fixed. And three, you arrive alive and on time. It's not as exciting as Me Fly, but it is safer, faster, easier, and cheaper. Working with an architect is similar. You knew we were going to get there at some point, right? When you want to help by jumping in the design cockpit, you'll end up paying more. It'll take longer, and you'll often end up with an inferior result. Moral of the story, if you don't trust the pilot, then get a new pilot. But once you do, let them fly the plane. Okay. Right. So this might be an example of someone's on, in your circle of love email. This might be one email they get. Now, some of them would be shorter, some of them would be longer, but this would be an example of really signposting very early on what it's like to work with me. Right? I'm not the architect where you jump in the cockpit all the time and start dictating things. I'll take an outstanding brief. I'll come back to you when I need you. All right. So these are the type of things that need to be in place. These type of scripts. It could be a video. It could be an email. It could be a number of things where I'm looking. These are all part of training a client to be well behaved. And if I don't teach them and indoctrinate a client on how to be well behaved, I can't expect them to be well behaved, right? So client control, it's up to me to teach them. Okay, so there's example number one. Example number two, this would be an example of gaining control, teaching the client who has the power before, let's say, a first initial meeting. All right. So we're using a free initial meeting in this process here. Okay. Now, this came to me, this little email. I often get these things from other industries, right? Because there's not a lot of stuff in the design industry where there's a lot of client control, right? So I study more than just architecture. I study, like everything. As soon as I see some good marketing or some good client control, I take it and then I adapt it for architecture. So here's an example coming from a free. All right, I've got these glasses, right? They're just reading glasses. So they're level 2. Not much. But I thought, it might be a good idea to get eye surgery, and then I don't need these are, I'm getting used to them now, but they're a little bit annoying. So I thought I'll go see the eye surgeon. And I found in the email some magnificent client control in terms of setting expectations. Boom, magnificent. So here was the email I got. Hi, Richard. This is an email to confirm your free initial laser suitability assessment appointment on Wednesday, the 18th of May, 2022 at 3:30. Please allow up to 45 minutes for the appointment with our ophthalmic technician. Okay, I don't get to see the eye surgeon. I have to see this person first. It's like a triage. To comply with the Government Public Health Response Protection Framework Order 2021, during red and orange of the framework, you will be expected to wear a face mask while at the clinic. If you have an exemption from wearing a face mask, you must notify us in advance, and we may have to reschedule your appointment to a more suitable time. Please find attached the patient registration form, the dry eye questionnaire, the information brochure. Please read in advance of your appointment, as it will help you make the most of your consultation. Now, if this isn't client indoctrination, I don't know what it is. Excuse me. Okay, it goes on. Please complete the registration form and questionnaire. Email them back to us or bring them to your appointment. Alternatively, arrive 10 minutes earlier to complete them at the clinic. In other words, do all this stuff in your own time, not in our time, right? Client control. If you wear contact lenses, please leave them out for 48 hours before the appointment. They alter the shape of your eyes temporarily, and it takes time for your eyes to return to normal. Please bring your current glasses with you. At your appointment, we will scan your eyes, take some measurements. This will determine if you're potentially suitable for laser surgery. It will be an opportunity to find out more about what we can offer. Okay. After the free initial suitability assessment, if it's established that you are suitable for laser eye surgery, the next step will be to book a medical laser suitability assessment with Dr. Andrew Logan. Okay, I'm just meeting with his minion to start with. Dr. Logan will examine the health of your eyes and discuss what may be the best procedure for you. The cost of this medical laser suitability assessment is $180. This is valid for 12 months, and if you proceed with surgery, the cost will be reduced by $180. We are holding for you, based on a positive outcome from your initial assessment, a medical eye assessment on Friday, the 3rd of June, 4 p.m. Please allow 75 minutes. And a confirmation email will be sent with details following the assessment on the 18th of May. They are setting up a whole roadmap for me, right? The Wellington Eye Centre is at level 4, 148 Cuba Street, Tiaro, on the corner of Cuba Street and Garrick Street. The entrance of the building is on the Garrick Street side. Parking is available in the public car parks within easy walking distance. Some of these are Wilson car parking in Swan Lane or the Butte Garrick Street and Victoria Street. If you are unable to attend, please notify us at least 2 working days in advance, and we'll offer you a suitable alternative. Looking forward to meeting with you. Now, this laser eye clinic has been well honed, right? There is a lot of client control in this. There is a lot of teaching me how not to piss them off. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Do this in your own time. Fill this out and send it in advance. Turn up here. Here's where you will park. We don't want you turning up late because you're saying you can't. We told you where to park, right? There's a lot of stuff going on here. Very well done, right? So I take something like that and I go, all right, well, we can use that for architects. So here's an example of an adaptation. Now, this is the thing. If you want to get a copy of this email, type in PDF into the chat window, and you'll get a copy of this PDF. Now, I had a whole lot of other stuff for you. We tend to go for half an hour with these things, and then we stop, but I'll see how we go. Anyway, here's the email, similar email based on the eye surgery for an architect, offering a free meeting. Okay. Hi, Richard. This email is to confirm your free Ask the Expert initial consultation appointment for insert time, day, date, and time. Please allow up to 45 minutes for this appointment with Richard Petrie. Please find attached a project questionnaire PDF, information brochure PDF. Please read in advance of your appointment as it outlines the project roadmap that we use and how we work with clients. And thirdly, frequently asked questions PDF. Please complete the questionnaire and email it back to us or bring it to your appointment. Alternatively, arrive 10 minutes earlier to complete the questionnaire at our office. Now, they may not do all this, but they might do some of it. Better than nothing, right? Our initial process is this Ask the Expert appointment, which is where you are now. Then we do a project diagnosis, number 2. Number 3, design. Number 4, we build. Number 5, enjoy. Okay, now there's obviously a pretty simplistic process, but it's good enough for a new client who doesn't understand the building process. That'll do. But what they do get to see is that they're at the free step. Next step will be the project diagnosis, which is the paid step according to our 6-map system. Okay, at the Ask the Expert initial consultation, we will understand more about you and what you want to achieve, determine your current situation and resources, explain the journey of our process at a high level, and provide you with an action plan of your next steps based on your objectives and current situation. Sounds all right? Your initial consultation will not cover specific design ideas, will not cover your project cost, and will not solve any complex problems. Just putting it out there, right? Now, a lot of you will do this stuff. Foolish, right? Foolish. You get stuck in a cycle of giving away your value. And why would a client... Anyway, I'm getting into the LCC, but this is how we do it anyway. This meeting is to answer generic project questions, answer what you want to achieve, and determine the next steps. After the initial consultation, we will outline the next steps, and if we think we are a good fit for projects and you wish to proceed, we will book, insert your LCC. If you don't know what that is, join the 6 Maps program. Insert the architect's name. We will discuss with you what will be covered in this step. Optional. We are holding for you based on a positive outcome of your initial assessment. And then the next appointment, which is the paid one, please allow 75 minutes. A confirmation email will be sent with the details following your initial consultation and then reminding them of the date of the initial chat. If you proceed with step 2, the investment is, and you add the cost in there, and it's valid for 3 months. If we do not feel we're the best option, we'll suggest an expert that may be a better fit for your project. Okay. Our office is at, and then we give a description of maybe some parking and things like that. If you're unable to attend this appointment, please notify us at least 2 working days in advance, and we'll offer a suitable alternative. Look forward to meeting with you. Best regards, Richard the architect. Okay, so just a simple little email, but it does a lot, right? It says, I mean, some of the things it says, and these are just off the top of my head, it says, we're in control, right? If you want to meet me for free, no, I'm not coming to your site. No, you won't be getting free information. Here's what will be happening. If you want a free meeting with me, I'm happy to review your project. Here's what will be happening. Here's what won't be happening. Okay, if you type in PDF, we'll send you a copy of this this email. And someone, yeah. It outlines how we work. I mean, it does so much. I mean, it says, here's our process. It's not asking the client, how do you want to do this thing? There's a good saying, either the client follows your process for buying or you follow their process for not buying. All right. Either the client follows your process for buying or you follow their process for not buying. One of you, and we're going to take some questions in about and comments in about 7 or 8 minutes. I just want to show you one more thing, but can you see here, if I go back to the, there needs to be, in whatever sales process you have, and even your construction process and post-construction, there needs to be thought given to client control. How am I going to take control and gain power? How am I going to be the pilot in this thing and stop? And maybe, I mean, that initial thing from Steve about, how to spot the asshole clients. I think to some degree, there are some degree who will just be painful and you should avoid at all costs, no doubt. But they're often kind of easy to see. That if it's a husband and wife couple, they're disrespectful to the wife, or there's sometimes the obvious ones are easy to see. I guess it's the ones in the middle who can be bad if they feel they're not in a well-controlled process, right? Most clients are looking for an umbilical cord to plug into. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to take control. And if you can demonstrate that you are able to take control and do a good job in the sales process, then then what they immediately think is, okay, if this guy can control me and is leading me through a series of steps, he or she will probably be able to control everybody else in a project when they're running a project. It gives a lot of confidence to a client to be well controlled, right? It's like when you're a kid and you first go to school when you're 5. You don't really want to be in a classroom that's out of control. You want to, well, I did anyway. I wanted to be I wanted to feel safe and secure. I wanted to be in a classroom where the teacher had full control of the class, right? And that's what we want. Okay, so we've seen the mindset, the power dynamics. Just review these. We've seen the power dynamics and how really we're looking for power. We've talked about a bit of a script around some, education for people to teach them things. This could be, this is usually this one here would be an email going out to someone on a list. This would be an example of setting someone up to come into the meeting with the right mindset and the right expectations. What about fees? What about client control? I'll give you one more thing and then we'll jump to Q&A and a discussion. So if you've got any questions around client control and dealing with asshole clients, as one of our 6 members called it, type them into the chat window and we'll come to them in about 5 minutes. I want to show you one more thing. I've got lots of things I can show you around client control. I'm not going to be able to show you everything I had prepared, but you can get access to all this stuff. I mean, if you're interested in the 6 map program, because some of you will be, type in chat into the window. It's just you'll have a chat with one of our guys. We'll get someone to give you a call, and they'll just run you through what it is, how it works, and find out if you're a fit. Okay, so and then you get all this stuff. You get all the nine steps, and you get the client control stuff, and you get everything. All right, let me show you one more thing. Okay, this one is around, it's the blue line strategy. Pretty simple. And here's the problem. Do you ever get scope creep? Right? Ever get scope creep? No, you don't? Oh, I don't believe you. All right, so the client's either pushing for discount on fees, they're pushing for you to reduce your fees, or they're trying to get you to do extra work, and you're in the project. Right? Now, a quick story. I remember this is, once again, another example of pulling some client control from a different industry and saying, we could use that for architecture. I was renting a car from Hertz, and I was given, there was a waiting list. There was a number of us, and we're all waiting in the waiting list, and had to fill out this great big long form and hand it back in. Once I handed back in this big long agreement, which might have been 12 pages long, I call her bad hair lady because she had, but anyway, bad hair lady hands me a one-pager. It's very clever. And what it has on it, before I can rent the car, I've got to initial all these things on one page, initial them and tick the box and initial. And they were things like, I agree, I know that I must not use this on the beach and driving it through the waves or through the surf. And it was just a list of obviously all the things which were really annoying to Hertz, which are probably included in the big long 12-pager, but I was never going to read the 12-pager. If I did anything wrong, I would say, look, I'm not going to read the 12-page. You had so many different things. But then they pull out all the things that are really annoying, and they go, and made me initial it. Okay. Now, here's one for, this is actually a pricing one. Okay, I'll show you the other one then. I'm going to have to jump to, I'll show you this one quickly, then I'll jump to the other one. So these are two examples. Okay, so here's one for Hertz rent. So this is what I have adapted this for, is when you go into contract negotiation, it's important to say, look, here's what I understand I will get, not what we will, here's what we will be doing, here's what you will be getting, blah, blah. You list them all. And sometimes it can be very handy if you get a lot of clients expecting that they're going to be getting, they come back to you later on going, oh, I thought I'd get that. I thought I'd get that. I thought that, surely that's included. No, you'll list it like in advance and the client will sign it. Right? So, oh, you're expecting to see online, updated progress reports. No, no problem. Let's have a look at what package you choose. So you can either do it that way, which is here's what you're going to get, here's what you're not going to get. So if they ever come to you and say, well, I thought I was going to get that, and you go, hang on, let's have a quick look at it at this one-page agreement or the rules of the road. Oh, no, it expressly says you're not getting that. Oh, okay, right? Or you can do it this way, right? 3 packages, they can choose. If you want that stuff, oh, okay, you want contract permit submission and management. All right. Well, that's in the advanced package. And remember, you only wanted the basic package. Would you like me to upgrade you into the advanced package? Right? Would you like me to upgrade you? Instead of saying, oh, no, it's not, da la la, and having a fight about it, you list it. You either list it that way by here's what's not included, or you list it this way. Here's what the packages are, and let's have a look. No, it's the advanced package, not in the basic package. Okay, so it just covers, you need to sit down and think, what are all the things, the annoying things that clients keep coming to me with, and I don't want to do them because they're not included in my head. So how can I be more specific? Well, you can do it that way, or you can do it that way. All right. Do you want to upgrade into the advanced package? All right. Let's have one quick look. And this is something I think is a very good idea. This is something I developed for, actually, the first time I developed this was for a personal trainer. Stop scare screen. And I'll just quickly show you this because really it's something that our 6, this one here. Okay. All right. So, you know, what you can do is you can design up some house rules or rules of the road, right? And same thing. This is almost a copy of the Hertz. Yeah, well, it's not the Hertz document, but it's the same concept, right? And you list all the things that are really annoying to you, and they have to tick them. And at the bottom, they have to sign them. Okay, so let's have an example. Let's say photography and documenting the project, right? As an example, I'm not going to go through all of them, but because of what we do, our work is very visual, and we're sure that you must already have seen examples of our completed projects on posts and social media. By working with us, we'd love to include your project as part of a collection of stories that we tell through our online content we produce. This will be during the design and build phases, as well as professional photo shoot at the end. Therefore, we'd like your permission to photograph and document the project for our records and for our marketing purposes. Right? We'll remove any personal information and be careful to omit any details that would specifically identify your property. However, if there's any particular sensitivity about your project, please tell us. All right. So there's all these things here. There's all these things here which you would look at including, right? This is I won't go through that one, but anyway, you list them here, and look up front. What I've realized is that people will go, yeah, no problem. If you come back to them later on and go, hey, we'd like to do photography or whatever else we're looking to do, they are, no, they might be difficult, right? If you've got your agreements up front on all the things you want done, then there you go. All right. So, guys, hopefully that was useful and helpful, and you got some benefit. Right. So, thank you, Eric. So type in your biggest takeaway, and for the next sort of 10, 15 minutes, we will cover any questions or comments that people have. I'm sure there's lots of comments on this topic of asshole clients, or the positive way is client control. So I'm going to go through some of these. Remember, if you want a copy of that email that was adapted from the eye laser surgery, then type in PDF. If you want to have a chat about winning better projects, which is what we help people do, we've got a 9-step program called the 6 Maps program. Type in chat and someone will get in touch with you to schedule a chat about how that looks. All right. Okay, good question. So Bethany says, how can I regain control if you're already mid-project? It just depends on what it is, I guess. Bear in mind, I'm not an architect. I'm more of a psychologist, I guess. But how can you regain control if you're already mid-project? What you may have to do, the easiest time to establish the rules, which is why we have these rules of the road documents, and we have very strong client control emails and things like that, setting the expectations. The reason we do it early is because it's the easiest time to do it. Getting a project back in control mid-project is harder. I'm sure it's doable. Depends on what the situation is. But what you may need to do is call everybody back into the room, right? And then reestablish the rules of the road, right? Reestablish the rules of the road. Now, it's much easier if they've already agreed to the rules of the road up front. If you're trying to establish the rules of the road mid-project, that's where they may start debating it. So I don't think there's an easy answer for that, other than you just have to look to get everybody in a room and try and get consensus on what the rules are moving forward, right? Yeah. Okay. Good question, and a difficult question, right? Jeff says you need to make clear that control does not mean that they cannot provide the information in a timely manner that you need, or that you are there to solve every one of their issues. Yeah, right. So part of control is telling them early on, part of the rules of the road is that you will deliver information to me within certain timeframes, right? I'll tell you the timeframes I need this information by. and you will put yourself you will put yourself in a position to be able to deliver that to me in a reasonable. If you cannot, you'll tell me as early as possible. There are things you can include, like if I'm waiting for 2 weeks for you to answer and make a decision, I'm allowed to push the project out by 2 weeks. Why not? Why should you be? You've already given a timeline. So there's things like that that can be done. So definitely getting information back would be one of the things on your rules of the road. These are good. What about the client who insists on being the controller from a Facebook person? This is one of the things. The whole thing is set up early on. So in the sales process, you can see that I showed you some tools today. And part of them qualifying to work with you is that they will follow your rules during the sales process, right? If they cannot follow your rules during the sales process, that is a major red flag, and they do not qualify to work with you. It's too expensive to have a rogue client running around with his cowboy gear on during construction. It's expensive for him, and it's expensive for you. All the profit in the project can go when you've got a rogue cowboy running around. So you ditch them early, and if you make them jump through hoops early, you gain control early. And if you find you can't control them, when are you going to control them later on? Not. If you can't control them early and set up the framework for how we work and the roles we're playing and who's in control of what, then you ditch them. I'm curious if this works well with very big clients. They're used to calling the shots and can be difficult. Yeah, absolutely they can. And that's the difference, I guess. It's one of the major differences between large corporates and smaller residential projects is the large corporates, not just in architecture, but in every industry, will often come to the party with the process mapped out, right? To varying degrees of aptitude, right? Usually poorly. They will have it mapped out. So fair enough. They're spending a lot of money. They have to be seen to be in control. They have to feel they're in control because often they're responsible to other people, and the other people whose money it is, whether it's the taxpayer or whether it's the shareholders, don't want. Yeah, I mean, this person has to justify their job a lot of the time. So sometimes it can't work. Yeah, I guess it's a spectrum. With government departments who have a predetermined roadmap that they want everyone to follow and certain dates when they're asking for submissions, and you have to do it this way and you have to answer these questions, it's very hard, right? And in that situation, it's a lot harder. There are some situations where you can look at their tender documents and their contracts or the process they want you to go through, and you can point out the fact that looking at this proposal or this tender document you want me to submit and this schedule you've got, there are some situations where you can say there is inadequate information for me to be able to answer all these questions based on what you've given us, right? And you can say, my suggestion is you need to go and do some research, need to go back a step and collect all the information. If you would like, I am happy to go and do that for you, right? I'm happy to go and do a research exercise for you to go and collect that information. You can just put the project on hold, and then we can give this information to anyone who wants to submit a proposal, and you'll end up getting better quality proposals, because at the moment, the quality of proposals you're going to get back based on the information you've provided they'll be poor proposals. There'll be too many assumptions in them, and you put yourself at risk. So anyway, that type of thing can work sometimes. The bigger the client, the harder it gets. How can you reject? Okay, done that one. Thank you, David. Jeff says, you use the term one of my contractors used to use. Yes, of course we can do that, but that is extra. Exactly. And the thing is, the only problem with that is where the client goes, oh, but I expected that was part of it. You know, you never said that. That's where you have to list things out and do that blue line strategy, right? Yeah, that is extra. I mean, sometimes you'll get away with it if it's in the gray area, but if it's a gray area and it comes up a lot, you should list it either in packages or in here's what's not included. Jeff says that was regarding skip crow. While you okay. I had one prospect who revealed his unruly nature by degrees. At first, I thought the couple could be okay based on the wife's comments. After continued rudeness, assumptions that he knew everything, last-minute cancellations, and blaming me for digital problems, right, i.e. the other email versus Gmail, he pulled the drama king crap. If we're going to argue, let's call it off. Gave him one last chance, asked project or this meeting. When he answered project, I got up and walked out on him. I don't understand that, Eric. Do you quite understand the...
Yeah, I basically, the person, I don't know who it is, who was on Facebook, said that he had enough and just basically, if this client became unmanageable.
I get that he walked out. I get that he
walked out
down,
on, he walked out on doing the project. You know, okay, that's fine.
But I asked project or this meeting.
Like, are you, let's call off the project or call off this meeting? Like, you know, maybe you need more time or something. So
okay.
Call off the project. So, okay.
Yeah. And look, I think it's really important for you, going back to that mindset thing, it's really important when you meet clients for the first meeting and the second meeting and the third meeting even, that you are qualifying them as much as they have to qualify you to work out whether they want to work with you, but you let them know, and this is one of the things we do very clearly, that they apply, you know, they're applying to work with you, and you are checking them out. You notice some of the words in that email that, you know, if we find out that we are suitable, then you will then move to the next step, which is here. Now, notice the wording talks about we'll work out whether we think you're suitable for us. This is part of taking that power and control. Okay. So, and you should have enough lead flow and opportunities. I know not all of you do, but you should have enough lead flow and opportunities so that you are in a position where you are choosing the clients rather than the other way around. And you should be saying no to half of them. Half of the people who come to you. Why? Because half of the people turn up with projects which aren't good projects. Either they are an asshole, or they have insufficient budget, or they show no sign of being able to be a well-behaved client, or some other reason, right? And a lot of it will be inadequate budget, or they're just not a good person, or it's not a project you want to do. Right? So at least half of them would fit that. So when you're meeting people for free, don't be weak, right? Okay, please explain what should happen during the circle of love phase. No, I won't, Andy, because that is a different step. And today we're talking about client control. So circle of love is about the nurturing phase, but it's about nurturing, indoctrination, educating, and entertaining people so that when they're ready, you are easy to reach out to and they have had regular contact with you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did share the one email that you got from, you know, there was a pre-meeting email that basically, you know, it said, actually, no, you had the whole thing, the story of the airplane. And
yeah,
so
I had the airplane story.
Yeah. So that's
right. So I gave an example of an email for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guys, if you want the PDF, if you want the email of the, you know, similar, the adapted one for architects from the iSurgeon, just type in PDF. If you want to talk to us about getting help coaching, we do that too. Type in chat. I think those are the two main things. All right. Okay. Yes, Ross, no problem. What if they ignore the contact? What if they ignore the contract and say, but I expected you to do it? Yeah, well, this is what you're trying to eliminate. So that's why you've got the two options. You've got here's what's included, here's what's not included, or you've got package A, B, C. You can't see my hand on, there you go. Or you've got package A, B, C. And it takes a lot of that gray area and makes it clear and specific. You can't get everything. You can't get everything, but if you can get the main things that cause you issues most of the time, then I think you can eliminate 80% of the scope creep. And situations where I expected you to do this, you can get most of it if you think about it. Oh, this looks interesting. I really like the approach of the Chinese food menu. Select packages and services. Certain basics are included, but all else is selected for a fee. And you negotiate services, not fees. Exactly. Oh, you expected the wontons? No, the wontons are in the gold package. Would you like the gold package? I can upgrade you to the gold package and include the wontons for you if you'd like. Same thing, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to think, this is one thing that Eric and I do very well. You've got to think these things through in advance. It's not just a case of doing great design. Lots of your business being successful and profitable is beyond just doing great design. If it was just about doing great design, then a lot of you would be rich. And you and I know you're not, because you haven't got your marketing sorted out. Unfortunately, you need to be a great marketer of architectural services first. And you need to be a very good, competent designer second. You can't just be a good, competent designer. You need to be a good marketer of design services. You need to do both, right? And that's why if you think, oh, why aren't I rich? I'm great at design, because you're not great at marketing your design services. And this client control stuff is not directly marketing. This is about control, right? The marketing stuff is the 9 steps that we teach in the 6 Maps program. But it sure does also help to have a background of client control where you're taking people through the marketing or the sales process and the design, construction, and after. There's so much benefit to be gained by having client control after. For example, setting up expectations around referrals, right? You sell that, that could be part of your rules of the road. That referrals is what we do and how we do it. You set up that expectation, and maybe that's part of the qualification for being accepted to work with you as a client. That expectation is set early on. So when you come at the end of the project, there's certain things they're going to get, and there's certain things you're going to get at the end of the project. You've set that up. What's your biggest takeaway, guys? Just type in the chat window. Peter says the checklist. I think that was the blue line strategy, was it? The blue line strategy. Takeaway.
Also, Momo's rules of the road was great, because you're specifically asking for permission or requiring permission and getting them to check it off, so that you don't have to ask for it.
Exactly like the Hertz lady did for me, and that's where that came from. So we have all these type of resources. If you ever join the 6 program, if you're ever lucky enough to be accepted, if your application gets accepted to join the 6 program, which is where we help people move to Sunshine Island, all these type of resources are in what we call the vault, and you get access to all of them, right? So I didn't show you all of the Momo document. I've given you some things, but I'm not giving everything away that's in the 6 program. You get everything, and there's a lot of good stuff in there that you just basically things that previous 6 members have done, and we tend to share them because they all build on each other. So everybody takes it and does something better. Takeaway from Mrs. Facebook user: your parables to explain services. I've got a whole book of architecture parables, right? And that's in the vault as well. So explaining all sorts of, some of them a little bit difficult topics to cover if you were to say them face to face, but if you put them into a parable or a little story and feed them out in your circle of love or part of your pre-meeting indoctrination email series, then the client can read them in kind of a friendly type of parable way. They pick up the key point and they understand, okay, this is how she works. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do everything. It's just a glimpse into how this person works and how they think. And that's really important. Okay. Jeff says, biggest takeaway is you must be proactive on client control. Yeah. The Ross, you're in the 6th program. LCC is always a good way to identify difficult clients early in the process. So thank you, Ross. Ross is love the checklist, says Deborah. Jeff says agree with Deborah. Great checklist. Jonathan, never thought of that. Makes total sense. Advanced, package, or basic. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, Jonathan, that it does is it allows you that if someone goes, oh, I wasn't expecting to pay that much for this, you go, no problem. You just have the basic. But what you've done is stripped out a lot of the work, right? If you want them as a client, right? You strip out all the heavy duty stuff that can go on the advanced and the professional package. And, okay, you can just spend a small amount of money if you're not sure at this stage, no problem. But I'm not doing that much either. I'll cut what I do right back. To gain control, pretend you are Frank Gehry and act like you think he would. Well, there's some truth in that, right? Right? Would Frank Gehry put up with this stuff that the client's giving? No, he wouldn't. All right. What would Frank Gehry do? He'd do this. Okay. Well, if it's good enough for Frank Gehry, is it good enough for you? And don't, we've had a lot of architects who work for, a lot of these famous architects, and then they go out, they then go out and work on their own. And Norman Foster and a lot of these other people, and they say, what everybody thinks we are busy all the time and we don't need the work and everyone comes to us. They said, what you got to realize is, that those big firms with the star architects, they have big offices and they take a lot of feeding. You need a lot of projects going through. And there are other, even at the elite level of architecture, let's say building a skyscraper in New York, right? So we had, so some of our members have used to be in those big companies, and then they ended up working for themselves. And they said, a lot of those skyscrapers, the developer will ask the architect to do it for free because it's good for their portfolio, right? And they also said that these famous firms, we may look like a duck on the top of the water, going calmly along, and we've got lots of money and all that, but underneath, the feet are paddling because there's only so many premier projects, and there are a number of celebrity architects, and they're all competing for the same high value projects, right? And they're expensive to do. So often they're not in much of a different situation than you are. They just look calmer on top of the water. Good cop, bad cop. Yeah, that's right. And you need them both to be good, I think. There is an exercise we do in one of the early steps, step number 2, which is around identifying what is your ideal client. What's your ideal client? What's your ideal project? And then we also do that exercise with what aren't they? What can they not be? What's a non-negotiable for you? What behavior is non-negotiable? Mainly what behavior, I guess. It might be what budgets are unacceptable for you, but you go through a list And you can, once you've got that list of what you'll accept and what you won't accept, it's pretty quick to say, listen, this is, you don't qualify to work with me. But you got to know yourself. You can't accept everybody that turns up, because there's a lot of clients who aren't great out there. Oh yeah, this is, I charge extra for marriage counseling. Yeah, well, that could be on your list of, that could be in the advanced package, I guess. Yeah, always with a laugh. Okay, Deborah's obviously got some novel ways of, all right. Yeah, this is important to know. So love that we are qualifying the clients, not just clients qualifying the designer. Really, for a lot of you, that's a mindset shift, and it gives you so much power when you have indirectly expressed that to the client. You saw an example of the email talking about, if we think we are a good fit, we'll let you know. And fortunately for you, we've reserved you for a spot on the next step. I like saying this: what you will get and what you won't get. It's upfront and difficult to get around once in the throes of a project. Exactly. Jeff says a good analogy for the package system is similar to buying a car. You have varying packages at different prices. Yeah. And he also says, in regards to you have to feed the pig. Yep. And they often take on a lot of clients and projects just for cash flow, and it can be hard if you get to a large size. That's exactly right. I mean, some of these big beasts of architecture firms, they take a lot of feeding. They have very high overheads. So I always think being a small, profitable architecture firm is better than being a large, unprofitable architecture firm. You just want to be profitable. And I think you can make some seriously good money as a small design firm if you have good client selection, project selection, client control, and you're in a position where you can win more projects than you can handle, right? Then you're in a position to pick and choose the best projects. And when you can pick and choose the best projects, you can also determine your fees, right? You want to position yourself in a position of demand. There are a number of things to do that. You want to be, what you don't want to be is in large supply. So at the moment, when you start out, you're an architect. There's 80,000 registered architects in the US. There's lots of you, and in other countries as well. There's lots of architects. They're not in scarce supply. So there are a number of things you need to do to make yourself scarce. At one end, you've got large supply. At the other end, you've got a monopoly situation, right? You want to be maneuvered into the monopoly situation. And that's one of the things we teach in the 6 Maps program. So, if and when you're ready, if you're ready to make more money and win better projects, then type in chat in the chat window, and we'll run you through how it works and all the details on that. So type in chat. If you want the PDF for one of the eye surgeon scripts, if you haven't already done so, do that. And that is probably a wrap. Eric, have you got any final parting thoughts?
No, I think you've shared a lot of meaty ideas and resources. I think that there are other things that we share through the Facebook group. If you haven't been a member of our Facebook group, please check that out. You can go to archmarketing.org/Facebook, because we share a lot of great things on a regular basis, including this live stream, which is visible there. We do continue to post on the YouTube channel, little bits and pieces and inspirational case studies. And we will be back certainly next week for more, more good stuff. And we have some other things that we're working on that won't mention right now, but some hot topics that I think you'll really find exciting. So, Richard, it's a pleasure, as always, to work with you and to see you teach and share so openly and so much value with everyone.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. We are running another session next week. feel free to, when you get these invitations, share it with someone else who's not a competitor of yours. They'd appreciate it, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make you feel good. So thanks everybody, and good luck with your client control.
Be well.